Most discussions on the importance of the church, in my experience, go like this. The church is important because of God, and the reply comes back that God doesn't exist, so the church is not important. The argument moves from this world to theology, and no mortal man can solve those issues, although he can certainly have an opinion. And in the muddle, the basic question of the church's importance is forgotten. But the church is an important component of the balanced society, the basic idea of which is that different centres of power exist within society. Today, power resides around the government, and most things revolve around the government. It's not that government should not exist, or that it should be powerless, certainly not. It has a rightful place. But if something has a rightful place, that also means it has a wrongful place. Today the government has its claws in everything. There is hardly an area in which it is possible to escape the government, but that was not always the case. In the past, the church was an important area in which the government did not have overriding power. Certainly it had power and influence, but rarely was it overwhelming. Instead, the church was a counterweight, an area of life where the government was not all powerful, and that made the church important by itself. In fact, before the 1800s, most social issues were not dealt with by government at all. Education was either a private concern or conducted by the churches. Hospitals, asylums, orphanages were nearly always run by the church, even in Protestant countries. Poor relief was often government policy, but still organised and run by the church. Marriage and its bad byproducts, divorce, legal separations and annulments were all church issues, as was record keeping. The church kept the parish records that genealogists use today to trace their family trees. The church was not completely separate from government, but it kept many areas of administration away from government, more importantly, away from busybodies. It also meant that the church was not all theory. It had to be practical and frugal, as its money was not unlimited. It had to keep its head out of the clouds and down to earth. The failure of the church to keep control of its own areas of responsibility has had huge effects on all of us. It has given the government power over areas of life it really has no business being in. It has encouraged busybodies to change things for change's sake. It has made the church very airy-fairy, with not enough experience in real life, and it has placed too much importance not on God or people, but on theology, on theory over practice. It's not that theology is unimportant, but that it has a rightful place and the church, and that place is not at the expense of life. Maybe it's time to start thinking about returning the church to its rightful place. Maybe the church has drifted so far away from that it would be dangerous to do so. But the church has a place in any traditionalist future, and we need to start thinking about what its place it should occupy.